Welcome back to Hardly Minding My Business. I'm your host, Dashing D, and we're back. So first things first, there was an episode. I created an episode, sat here, recorded it. It was late. I did what I had to do. The next day, the next morning when I said, okay, it's time to edit. Actually, that night, I was like, I'm going to edit this and I'm going to get this out tonight. I start to edit. Well, let's back up a little bit. I sometimes take a little something, do a little something to help me sleep. That night, I was like, okay, I'm going to do the podcast. The podcast is usually anywhere between 35 minutes to an hour, not ever longer than that. So I'm like, okay, if I take something now, if I do this now, by the time I finish the podcast, it'll kick in. I'll be mellow, I'll edit. I probably won't have a whole lot of edits. I'll edit and then I'll put the episode out and go straight to bed. Won't have any trouble sleeping. I didn't anticipate that it would kick in a little early. So I start recording the podcast, and the first moment that I noticed that I didn't notice that something was off, but somewhere around petty or not, I started forgetting things. And I know I forget things all the time and I'm a little scatterbrained, but this was different. Like, I just completely drew a blank and was like, oh shoot, I didn't, like, in the middle of the episode, I was like, oh shoot, I didn't do petty or not. Let me think about that. And then somewhere maybe around the 35 minute mark, I was like, I think it's hitting me. I think it's hitting me just a little bit, but I'm gonna get through it. I'm almost done. I probably got about 20 minutes more and then I'm done. Okay, cool. By the time I got to the end of the episode, I was a blithering fool. I had no idea. I could not focus. I kept forgetting things. I was going off on, like, not even good tangents, but just tangents that didn't need to happen. Needless to say, I learned my lesson and should never do that ever again. I will always wait until I'm done recording to do something like that. So unfortunately, there's no episode to show for it. I mean, it's there, and maybe I'll put out a couple of clips of things that were not so bad, but for the most part, the episode had to be scrapped. And then since then, we had the holiday and there's just been a lot going on with me. I had a family tragedy this week, so I am dealing with that. And whenever you're dealing with a death, it's not just like the grieving and the mourning of the loss, but it's also like all of the other bullshit that sometimes comes with it, and having to deal with family that you may not have seen or heard from in a really long time, or there's just a lot that comes along with it. So things have just been kind of all over the place, but I'm here. I said, listen, I had a lot to say in the episode that went awry, and there have been a lot of things going on since then. So I had to come on here and make sure that I talk to y'all. So that's basically what's going on. I guess we could bring it up now that there's a new social media app. Instagram had a baby, and its new baby is Threads. I did join Threads a couple days ago. I've been on there a little bit playing around with it. I think it's really cool when for anybody who maybe has trouble engaging. I think that this is a cool space right now, at least, for people to kind of get in there and talk to whoever, and and really increase those skills. So definitely recommend if you're into that. But I'm out there, I'm there as Dashing D, which might change soon, but you know, go find me, and I'm out there. I'm in those streets. Yeah, so I think it's a really cool platform so far, and we'll see what happens. It grew so fast. It started, when did it launch? It launched on Thursday, and by Friday night, it was at somewhere like 70 million people had joined. And honestly, it's not that hard to join, because if you have an Instagram account, you already technically have your Threads account. You just need to, activate it and all of that. But it's cool. Like, Mariah Carey got on there. I said, oh, okay, hey. I even responded to her message and was like, hey, girl, hey. It's kind of like a free-for-all. It's kind of like old Twitter. I don't know how long that's going to last, but it's kind of like that. So, go check it out. If you're in those streets, look me up, give me a follow. I'll follow you back. What else do we need to talk about? What other updates do I have? I have been trying to go really hard with my fitness. I'm trying to get back into it. I had a few weeks where I just, couldn't get it together. My running wasn't on par with where I would like it to be. It isn't on par with where I would like it to be at this point. And I also kind of just took a break for a few weeks, not intentionally, but time kind of gets away from you. I would start the week with a run, and then I'd be like, okay, I'll do my next run in 2 days or whatever it is. And then I get into things and I'm like, oh, wait, I don't. I got stuff to do. I got to do X, Y, and Z. And I don't think I have time for this. But what I do know is that is something that I have to make time for. I have to prioritize my health, and I have to prioritize my fitness. So I am trying to make a conscious effort to do that in a better way. So yeah, that's kind of what it's been. What else do I need to talk about? Well, we should move on to petty or not, because we have a bunch of things that we have to talk about, things that I already technically spoke about, and things that are new in the last week. So first, petty or not is really simple. Y'all be watching these videos and then nobody comments. So petty or not is on y'all. I love that people come here, but we're trying to build a community here. So listen, if you have a thought or you have something to say, please put it in the comments. If you hear a topic that you're interested in and you disagree with me or you agree with me or whatever it is, or you just want to add your 2 cents, put it in the comments. That's what the comments are there for on YouTube. Please utilize the comments. I would appreciate your feedback or your thoughts or whatever it is, give me a little, I don't know, emojis are whack in the comments. It's cool to do, but come on, you can give me a little something like, oh, totally felt you on that, or oh, D, I ain't like that. I ain't like what you said there, or Keke Palmer's baby daddy is crazy. We gonna get to that. But yeah, that's my petty or not for this week. I know it's a weak petty or not, but it's totally relevant. Please put it in the comments. If you have a thought, I would love to read it. I will respond. Just let me know. Also, shout out to the person, as we move on, shout out to the person who hit me, because the last episode, I said that there was supposed to be news about Jonathan Majors. He was supposed to be in court on June 13th. He wasn't there. It turns out they pushed it back a week and no one knew about it. I don't know why this is. But it turns out he did go to court. So we're going to talk about that in a second. But somebody who watches the podcast hit me up as soon as they saw that Jonathan Majors was out and headed to court, hit me up and was like, hey, look at this. And I really appreciate you for that. That's what I'm talking about here. Like, you know, let's talk, let's engage, let's, you know, I would love to hear from anybody who's watching the podcast. And yeah, so hit me up. And don't forget, if you are not subscribed, make sure you subscribe, make sure you rate and review, and, you know, provide your feedback. I want to hear it. So Jonathan Majors, so this happened over a week ago now, but he did go to court. I forget what they call it, but it's not trial or anything like that. It's not an arraignment. It was just, they were basically there to lay out the facts and lay out what the charges were, or going to be, or any counter charges or whatnot. So his lawyers hold on to the fact that they do not believe he is guilty. They also said that they want to countersue because this person aggravated the situation and was in fact the aggressor, allegedly. So that's where that's at. They're going to trial in August. I don't remember the exact date, but the trial date is set for August. And I guess we'll see what happens. I don't really know what to do with that. What I can say is that since then, there has been a Rolling Stone article that has been released, where Rolling Stone apparently had been doing an investigation on Jonathan Majors and people he's been associated with over the years. They said it was, I believe they said it was a 3-month-long investigation that they did. So they spoke to different women that have interacted with him and tried to get their stories. Some have come out with their own stories about how he can be aggressive, how he takes his method acting to the nth degree, and basically, I guess, tried to, you know, painted a picture that makes him look like his hands are not clean. Apparently Rolling Stone reaches out to Jonathan Majors' team and says, hey, we're gonna publish this article. There's some damning things in here. There was also one woman who said she knew him, I guess, when they were 13 or something like that. They were young. And she said, oh, you know, he wouldn't hurt a fly. I just want to point out the fact that, and I'm not accusing him of anything while I'm sitting here right now talking to you. I'm just laying out the things that have happened. But who you were at 13 is not necessarily who you are today at, I think he's what? Is he in his 30s? I think he's in his 30s. I can't remember how old he is. But he's a grown-ass man. So who he was at 13, not who he is today. I also think that some of those behaviors can, yes, certain things can start growing when you're a child. And by the time you get to an adult, you know, certain things progress. But you can't make that assessment off of somebody who knew him when he was in junior high. I just don't really think that's fair to him, and I wouldn't want anybody to do it to me. I wouldn't want anybody to be like, oh, you like took my crayons when we were kids. I wanted the black crayon and you took it from me and I couldn't use it. And then, you know, today they're like, yeah, she totally would rob a bank. I don't think that's fair. So whatever. That's really all we know. Now, him and Megan Good showed up to court together, hand in hand. I know I said before I did not want to talk about him and Megan Good, but I don't... What are you supposed to do when the two of them show up hand in hand in his very, very wrinkled suit? I'm not not really sure what to make of this. I said that before. I don't really know what I'm supposed to take away from Meagan Good standing by his side and going to court with him. I'm sure that in someone's mind, the strategy here is that she is a safe choice in terms of women. You don't really hear anything bad about Meagan Good, and she's a Black woman, so you certainly would hope to curry favor with other Black women. But my question really is, I could see why him and his team would want to have a woman like that around right now. But what's the benefit to her? Are they really together? Are they in love? Were they together while this other woman was with him? I guess that doesn't really matter, but it just doesn't make sense the way he was with this other person and then he was all of a sudden with Meagan Good, and they seem to be like way beyond beginning stages of a relationship. So I don't know. I don't really know what to say about that, and that's why I haven't really been talking about that so much. But yeah, my only thought is I don't know what the benefit to her is, unless she's really like that deeply and madly and truly in love with this man. I don't really understand what. And even then, love's not the only thing. So I don't know. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Really quick, the Supreme Court rules to do away with affirmative action. I'm not going to talk too much about it because we don't talk too much about politics here, but we do talk about things that affect Black people. And what they didn't rule against, what nobody is even bringing to the forefront, is the fact that so many people get to go to Ivy League schools because of the fact that grandpa went or mom went or whoever went, and they automatically have this advantage when it comes to higher education. They already probably could afford any school they wanted to go to, but then on top of that, their merits don't even get them into the school. It's the fact that they have money, and it's the fact that they have these, they get these legacy entries. As someone who went away to college and went to a semi-private, semi-public school, and had to pay for school, the whole education system in this country needs to be reevaluated. That is my biggest takeaway from this. Of course, it affects Black people. Of course, it affects people of color. And it is going to make it that much harder. But I think the whole thing needs to be overhauled. Education should not be so expensive. Education should not be so upstairs, downstairs. You should be able to get a good education wherever you go, and it should be of low cost or no cost to you. That is just... I do think that once you start getting into certain specialties and getting into master's programs, doctorates and things like that, I can understand why you're charged for that. But just to get the basic of the basics, just get a bachelor's degree, shouldn't be that hard. Sorry, I just don't think it should be. So I think that this is a way bigger conversation, but I didn't want to ignore it, and I didn't want to act like it didn't matter to me, because it does matter to me. I think education is really important, and I don't think it's required. I don't think higher education is required. I don't think you need it to do everything you do. But I do think it should be available to everyone who wants it. I also want to point out that the Supreme Court is making a lot of changes, and I think that's the thing that really sticks out in my mind too, is that we are in a world where who knows what's going to be taken away next? Who knows how this is going to affect us next? I don't know. Kind of stresses me out a little bit to think about. But yeah, I wanted to acknowledge it. I didn't want to just ignore that. I think that's really, really important and something that we all need to keep our eye on, because it's one day it's abortion, another day it's education. My question is, what is it going to be next? Anyway, so I mentioned Keke Palmer and her man, Darius Dalton is his name, I think. Just for context, because I was wondering this myself, like, I'm sure at some point, if you've heard this story already, you might have had the question, well, who the fuck is he? I had that question, and so I got a little bit of clarification. Okay. So y'all remember Insecure? Y'all remember Dro? Dro was the one. Dro was Molly's friend, like Molly's childhood friend. He was really cool with the family and everything. He knew everybody. He was Molly's childhood friend. Obviously, they're older now. He's married, but I guess him and Molly have always kind of had a thing for each other. And Molly ends up sleeping with Dro because Dro says that he is in an open marriage. But things get a little weird for Molly. Like, she's trying to go along with it, and she tries to, you know, okay, you're married. You know, I'm gonna just try to be in the moment and be here with you. But it gets a little messy. I remember, and I think this was the beginning of the end for them. They were in bed one morning, and he gets a phone call from his wife. And Molly's laying there. He's like, no, you don't have to get up, or, you know, whatever. Because I think she tries to get up. And he's like, hey, babe. Oh, yeah, we just finishing up. Or some shit like that. And Molly was like, I can't do this. This is too much, okay? And that would be too much for me to be all the way real. Anyway, that has nothing to do with Keke Palmer and her man. What does have to do with Keke Palmer and her man is apparently Darius Dalton is Joe. Okay, Dro was played by Sarunas Jackson. And apparently Darius Dalton is Sarunas Jackson's brother. Again, you would ask yourself a question at this point, because I did. I was like, well, who gives a fuck about Dro's brother? Like, who cares? I think he's also of or related to someone else or something like that. It really doesn't matter. The point is, he's not a celebrity in his own right. He's not well known. If we're talking about in the context of Keke Palmer, he's kind of a nobody, right? So anyway, let's move on. Let's get to the shits. Keke Palmer, who looks good, by the way. Keke Palmer had her baby. We talked about it here on Hardly. Keke Palmer had her baby at some point. I can't totally remember when it was. I don't think the baby's a year old yet, but probably approaching a year old, I would think. If not, Keke Palmer has her baby. Since she reemerged from having her baby and nesting and doing everything that she does, Keke Palmer got that body, okay? Keke Palmer ain't have that body before. Keke has always been, she's always been cute. She's always been beautiful. But Keke been serving up some looks and some body lately, okay? And good for her. A lot of women say they have a child, they get the body they want. Some women say the opposite. They get the body they do not want. But this motherhood has been good to Keke, and we love that for her. Keke Palmer goes on a girls' weekend to Vegas. She goes to see Usher, as one does when they go on a girls' weekend to Vegas. And Usher sees her and serenades her. Keke, I should point out, is wearing a dress that is sheer. It's a long dress, long sleeves. It's sheer, and underneath is a black bodysuit. She looks amazing. Hair looks good, makeup looks good, everything. She looks great in the dress. There's a bunch of pictures she had even posted on social. Now, there was video, obviously, because Keke Palmer and Usher, two very big names. Usher serenades Keke Palmer. They get all hugged up while he's serenading her. He's singing to her, whatnot. I guess her man was upset about this because he then goes on and points out the fact that she's a mom and says something about it being because of the dress. I just want to point out that Usher is known to serenade people, especially celebrities, by the way. There's a bunch of videos on the internet where you can find Usher serenading women. I think even recently Joe Budden took his girl to the Usher concert, and Usher sees Joe Budden and his woman and pulls his woman out of the crowd to serenade her. This is like a shtick. This is a part of Usher's thing. Also, Keke Palmer is an actress. She's been acting since she was a child. Keke Palmer knows when the audience is looking. Keke Palmer knows that there are cameras on her. It, to me, looked like Keke was playing up what was happening, right? Which is exactly what I would have done. Which is exactly what I would have. Listen, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. If Usher pulls me out of the crowd to serenade me, and y'all know I love me some Usher, my man, if I had one, would have to understand. It's Usher. It's not, he's serenading her. He's not having sex with her. He didn't grab her crotch. They didn't do anything particularly R-rated, X-rated for that matter. I'm sure that she didn't slide him her number and say, call me afterwards so we can fuck. I just don't understand what this is. Like, why do you feel threatened by this? Anyway, okay, let me back up and finish saying what happened. So he says all these things on the internet. People catch wind and they're like, wait, who the fuck is this man? Who is he? And why is he talking about Keke? We love Keke and we want to protect her. What is his issue? What is his issue? Her dress? The dress, buddy? He then goes back on, once he realizes that people are pissed at him on the internet, he goes back on and doubles down on what he said and basically said something like she represents him, which, nigga, who are you? She represents you? Nah, I don't think it worked like that. I don't think that Keke Palmer, a killer in the Bee. What was the other show she did where she was the fashion designer on Nickelodeon? Keke Palmer has been host of GMA. Keke Palmer has done a million things. She is in every other commercial I see on television. And you are telling me that she represents you? Who the fuck are you? Who are you? She represents you? Nah, my nigga. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna let you have that. I'm not gonna let you have that. No. Anyway, I didn't even want to bring this up to go there, but now that I'm talking about it, I'm like, sir, why? Then he realizes at some point, because people were like, well, what is wrong with you? Like, why are you even, this is not the thing that you need to be mad at. He eventually comes back and says something about how, you know, his insecurities sometimes get to him and whatever. And I guess that was like his version of an apology. But my dude, like, nobody was paying attention to you. And you went on and you drew attention to not only yourself, but to her. And I would think that she's probably a little bit embarrassed because her man is looking stupid on the internet and attempting to make her look stupid. Like, I just didn't really understand. And my question is more about, why is it that these types of situations are playing out on the internet? If you are a grown man and you have a problem with the way I am dressed, you have a problem with something I've done, you have a problem, I don't know, we had a fight or something, the place to air out your grievances is not the internet. There have been way too many situations lately where people are taking to the internet to air out their grievances with their partner. If you have an issue with your partner, take it to them. Yeah, she was on a girls' weekend. Was her phone turned off? Did you think that maybe if you posted this to the internet, someone would tell her you were looking for her? Like, what the fuck did you think was going to happen? I don't understand it. I am someone who is extremely private. I don't like people in my business when it comes to stuff like this, or like when it comes to me and my man, or me and someone I'm dating, or anything like that. I hate people in my business. So this gave me the ick, because I was like, even if you're mad, even if you're in your feelings, it's misguided, but that's besides the point. You have a feeling or you have a thought about me or something I'm doing, it's your responsibility as an adult human to hit me directly and say, I don't like this. This made me uncomfortable. XYZ. What is this thing that is happening where you airing your grievances about or to your partner on the fucking internet? Why? Listen, I'm a strong believer in family business needs to stay within the family. I don't like the talking to people who don't have anything to do with it. I don't like the idea of you going to my friends and speaking to them. I don't like any of that shit. So I really, really, really am disgusted when I see men and women getting on the internet to air their grievances with their partner on the internet. I don't understand it. It will never make sense to me. I don't get it. I don't get it. And all he did was embarrass her and make himself look stupid. And trust me, he will do it again. He will do it again. He will do it again. That type of thing, he gonna find a way. And that's gonna be the end of him, if it hasn't been already. Because she's been posting some subs, like her and her baby. I don't know if those two are still together, but I don't even care about that. That's between the two of them. They can figure out their relationship. I just have a problem with the fact that he was all on the internet talking about her when he needed to take that to her. Initially, I thought it was a joke. I looked at it and I said, oh, him saying you a mom? Oh, is that like, do they play around like that? Maybe they play around like that. Nah, he wasn't playing apparently. Apparently he was serious when he came back and talked about, you know, how it needed to be respectful for his family because it was because she's his representation. Like, nigga, she's not your representation. You are hers. And that is why you should have sat down and kept your mouth shut and let your woman know what you needed. No matter how ridiculous it was, you should let your woman know what you needed privately. Speaking of other men and women, since we're here, I talked about this on the episode that you guys didn't see, but apparently A$AP Rocky did a show. Rihanna was in the audience with her very pregnant belly, and he referred to her as his wife. He thanked her, and, you know, did he dedicate a song to her? I can't remember exactly what it was now, but he thanked her and he referred to her as his wife. So, of course, the internet started speculating, hey, are they married? I mean, who would be surprised? In fact, going back to Keke Palmer and Darius Dalton, apparently Darius referred to her in one of his tweets, referred to Keke as his wife. There was also speculation there that they may be married. It doesn't really seem like they are, but people have secret weddings. Yeah, that is a thing, especially because y'all be in their business. I mean, unless it's like Darius putting all of us in his business. But other than that, like, people want to have private moments too. People who are well-known celebrities, they want to have private moments. So I could totally see either a Keke Palmer or a Rihanna and an A$AP Rocky being like, you know what? I don't want anybody in my business. We'll let them know when we're ready to let them know that we're married, but we're married. I could totally see Rihanna and A$AP Rocky doing that. Somebody said that they thought so because when they attended the Met Gala, they were dressed, Rihanna was dressed in a white dress and A$AP was in a tux. I don't really know that that's a good indication that that happened. I mean, it could be. Maybe that was some sort of subliminal message to us that we didn't pick up on. But the theme of the Met Gala was about Karl Lagerfeld, who was creative director at Chanel. So I don't really think that the looks that they had on were that far-fetched given the Chanel brand. It was on par with that. So it could mean something or it could mean absolutely nothing. But yeah, I wanted to point that out because I know that y'all don't like A$AP Rocky and Rihanna together. I know y'all would rather her not be with that man. But you know, that's her man and the father of her children. So I think y'all are stuck with him, with her. What else is there? So the BET Awards happened. We did the whole rundown on Let's Have a Real Conversation last week, so you should definitely check that out, especially if you want to hear me do my own rendition of Pound Town. The episode is appropriately titled Pound Town, so go check that out. But the BET Awards happened. They made sure to highlight 50 years of hip hop. It was running throughout the entire show. I thought that was really cool. Everybody looked great. And all the girls were out. That's kind of what I wanted to point out. Lots of big woman energy. You had old and new, you had the Lola Brooks and MC Lyte, and you had Lotto, you had Doechii, you had a bunch of different acts, and it was really nice to see. It was a long show, but it was really nice to see. So yeah, I had a good time. Everybody looks good. I don't really have anything crazy to say about it. There was a fight between JT from the City Girls and Lil Uzi Vert. They said they tried to involve Ice Spice in it. I don't think Ice Spice had anything to do with it, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I can't keep up with the young people in their shenanigans, so I don't really know exactly what happened. I'm gonna just leave that one for them to figure out. Essence Fest also happened. And, you know, that's a big celebration of music and culture and all of the things that Black women love. It looked like it was a good time. One day I'm gonna make it to Essence Fest. I would love to go to Essence Fest and haven't been yet. But that's definitely on my bucket list. Definitely something I want to do. It looks like such a good time. And such a Black time, and you know, I love that. So the only thing that I wanted to point out about Essence Fest is that people had a problem with Meg Thee Stallion doing a twerk competition. I heard that people even walked out. But like, don't they give a roster of who's performing? Is it, I don't know if it's like the festivals that I've gone to don't always go to time. So I could totally see showing up somewhere and thinking you're gonna see one person perform and you end up seeing another person perform. That happens at festivals. I don't know if this was the case at Essence Fest, but everything is outlined for you and there's a roster of people who are performing. I would just think, like, if you weren't someone who was interested in Meg Thee Stallion, why would you go to the Meg Thee Stallion show? That wouldn't really make sense to me. And then have to walk out because she was having a twerk competition on stage and y'all weren't into that? I mean, I'm gonna be real honest with you. Outside of the songs that we know from the internet or on the radio of Meg Thee Stallion, I don't really have extensive knowledge of Meg Thee Stallion's music. But there are people who love her and are people who would totally want to get on stage and do a twerk competition. Honestly, I feel like let people have fun. This is like what I said about Janelle Monáe, and apparently they came for her too. And the way she was dressed, or the fact that she was showing her breasts or something like that. I don't have the full story there, but let people have their fun. Like, I don't really know what you think is supposed to happen at a music performance at a festival. Is it supposed to be like buttoned up and straight laced? And I feel like, you know, have a little fun, have a good time. If she wanted to have a twerk competition, well, I'm not getting on the stage to twerk, but you know, there are plenty of people who are more than willing to do so. I don't know. It's just kind of weird. It's like people can't have anything anymore. Like, I don't know. So what I'm watching, I have two things I want to talk about. First thing is The Perfect Find. The Perfect Find came out, I think it's been about 2 weeks now since it came out. It's a movie on Netflix. It's based on the book by Tia Williams. I think I talked about it in the last episode we did, and I said that I wanted to check it out. So I did watch it. The cast is a great cast. Gabrielle Union, Keith Powers, Gina Torres is in it. I love Gina Torres. She was in Suits, and then she got her own spin-off show off of Suits. And she's done a bunch of other different things. She's beautiful. Like, she commands a presence when she walks into a room. So I love watching her. Aisha Hines is also in it. She's one of my favorites. She plays on that 911 show that I talked about a while back. And I know she's done a bunch of other things as well. And I think, was Lala? Lala was in it. And, you know, some other people that I can't remember at the moment. But the cast was great. I thought it was a great casting for that movie. I thought it was light and it was cute. You know, it was very rom-com-y and you know, it did what rom-coms do. It wasn't particularly phenomenal, but it had, you know, the good workings of a Gabrielle Union film. And just like I said, a nice, fun, romantic rom-com movie, right? I did have a problem with it though. I am Guyanese. I wasn't born there, but both of my parents, one of the first things that gets introduced in the film is that Gina Torres' character and her son are of Guyanese American heritage. In one of the first scenes of the movie, when we first see the interaction between the mother and son, the mother starts speaking in Spanish. Guyanese people don't speak Spanish. At least that's not the primary language there. I mean, maybe there are people there who do speak Spanish. It is surrounded by Spanish-speaking countries as it resides in South America. So it is perfectly possible that people in Guyana have the Spanish language under their belt. That is not the primary language. I don't know what happened there. It was very confusing. What made it even more confusing was this. Later on in the film, another character gets introduced. They have, Gabrielle Union has this, her character, I can't remember the character's names right now. I watched it like 2 weeks ago. But her character has a dinner party. It's a very small dinner party. She's meeting a man that someone tried to fix her up with. He shows up to the dinner party. The young man is also there. And she introduces the two of them and says, oh, so-and-so is Guyanese also. And he's like, hey, oh, okay, cool. And he starts to show him a chain that is the continent of Africa. And at this point, it appears that someone or some people think that Guyana and Ghana are the same. So you think that Guyana is an African country that speaks Spanish? It's really odd. It's really strange. It's like, and I understand that this is a story that someone wrote, and I get that, but if you're going to reference something that actually exists, you should probably fact check it and realize that Guyana is the only English speaking country in South America, and it has nothing to do with Ghana. I just didn't understand. I was really confused. And then later in the film, there's more speaking of Spanish. In fact, the same man who shows the African pendant speaks Spanish as well. And it doesn't make any sense. Who decided that this should have been a part of this film? It just like, they could have just spoke normally. They could have just spoken English normally, and it would have been fine. I was so confused. I've had a conversation with multiple people about this film, and people are like, wait, is that what happened? Because I wasn't really sure what was happening, and I couldn't figure out why they were speaking Spanish. Yeah, girl, me and you both. Me and you both. I don't get it. It was really strange, really odd. How could a film like this, with people of this caliber, whose job was it? Hey, Netflix. Hey, whoever produced this, I can't remember right now. Nobody checked? Nobody checked. What a fumble. What a fumble. Anyway. I also watched recently Black Summer House. Summer House is a show on Bravo. It's been on for a long time. Years now. They must be in, I don't even know what season they're in, the original Summer House. But originally it was a show where a bunch of white kids who live in New York City would go out to the Hamptons and for 2 weeks. Or no, for them it was, they would go out to the Hamptons for the summer, for the duration of the summer, every weekend. And they have a house and, you know, they party and they have a good time. That's the reality show. It's actually highly entertaining. They decide to do a spin-off, a Black one. Summer House Martha's Vineyard. It's a little bit different in that the anchor characters, or the anchor people on the cast, are this couple, and they have invited their friends out to a house in Martha's Vineyard over a 2-week period. So you have the primaries in the house who move in from day one, and they'll be there for the duration of the trip. And then you have some people who pop in and pop out, like one person came for a weekend or this and that. Some people just ended up getting kicked out the house. There's a whole lot of mess that happened. The husband and wife that invited everyone seem to be having their own issues, which is really fascinating, actually. And then there's just a bunch of different people and personalities on the show. You've got one girl who used to be a Playboy playmate and is trying to like move herself out of the shadow of being like the video vixen, the you know, the naked girl persona. You've got another girl who dated someone famous or mildly famous, and apparently she was accused of stalking him, and so there's like some confusion about her being around and whatnot. You've got the one girl who is now celibate and trying to navigate that, but it's just a lot of energy in that house, a lot of big personalities. The guys are good looking guys, good looking women. And they're just having fun and, you know, doing summery things and having a nice time. It was highly entertaining. It's over now. I think it was only 8 episodes, but I watched it over the last few weeks and it was actually really good. I hope they bring it back, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I'm like, well, maybe if more people watch it, if more people stream it, even though it's over, maybe we'll get to see it come back for a season 2. So not a whole lot to say there, but yeah, it's highly entertaining. Like, there's a drama on top of drama. One girl brings her dog to the house and didn't tell anybody she was bringing a dog. You know, you would think that would go one way. And I feel like if it was Summer House, like the Hamptons version of Summer House, it might have gone very differently. But you put a bunch of black people in the house and somebody shows up with a dog and didn't let everybody know that that's what they were gonna do. A lot happened. So check that out if you get a chance, to let me know what you think about it. With that said, we are going to close this one out with the tweet of the week. And the tweet of the week is actually about Keke Palmer. So it's a guy, I don't have his handle here, but it says, listen, if Keke Palmer chose me to be a stay-at-home dad, y'all wouldn't even know I existed. In quotes, love that dress, baby. Look at that ass. That's all me later. Have fun. And then it says, niggas want to be David when she was looking for her Otis. Be Otis, nigga. And I was like, you know, maybe she doesn't need to find her an Otis. If you don't understand the reference, watch the Temptations movie and it will make sense to you. Otis, this is about Otis Williams and David Ruffin. David Ruffin was removed from the group. But yeah, if you want to know more about that, if you just look up their names, you can find out what that's about. But I think it's a perfect quote, because I feel like, yeah, like, it sounds to me like he's trying to say, like, she's just looking for the person who's more low-key and more of the underdog, rather than the person who wants to be in the limelight themselves. So, and I don't know that that's true. I don't know what Keke Palmer wants. I don't know what Keke Palmer looks for in a man, because up until this point, we didn't even know Keke Palmer had boyfriends. So y'all gotta do better, though. So stop putting your business where it doesn't belong. That is all I ask. That is all I ask of you. Like, do better and want better for yourself. That's it. And on that note, I will see y'all next week. Bye.